Your website might look great, but if it's not ranking, it's useless. When somebody searches for your company, do you show up first or does your competitor? Now that's what I want to talk about, is 7 SEO essential tips that will help you show up higher than your competitors in Google search. So let's go ahead and get into that. The first one is going to be the title tag. Now the title tag is the first descriptor that tells Google exactly what your page is about. You've seen thousands of these. Every time you do a Google search or a Bing search, the title tag is that tag that shows up that lists all the different things you can click on that talks about, for example, plumber in the city / the name of the company. For example, plumber in Ogden / Rebel 8 Marketing, for example. Pretty bad example, but that's exactly what I'm talking about. Get those title tags to be very descriptive and try to include your keyword. If you can do that, you're going to start seeing your ranks increasing on Google if you incorporate the following steps we're going to be talking about. So let's go ahead and get into step number 2. That one is, do you have a dedicated page for each one of your core services? For example, if you have a water heater installation page, if you have a pipe replacement page, or drain cleaning page, for example, do you have a page for each one of those services? That is going to help you get more content onto Google and start ranking higher, just because those pages are going to be so dedicated and Google will know exactly what they are. Now, a lot of things that we see on websites like this is just going to be a services page. And that services page kind of has a top level view of every service you have. You'll have your water heater installation, pipe replacement, drain cleaning, this, and they'll stagger or they'll do something to make them look good or something like that. And they have a little description about it. And then the clients that come to us wonder why their website isn't ranking. One of the first things we do is break those services out into its own dedicated page. Now, with that services page, it is fine to have that as a very top level directory. Just don't expect it to get very much attention. And what I mean by that is, if you have services up at the top and then you have all those items listed, if they click on services, that's the page they see. But if they want to have water heaters, for example, your menu will have a drop down that expands, and then you can select water heater, and it gives you a page about the water heater. They can find out why their water heater is failing, what the process is to install it, what to do to get a hold of you guys to come and install a water heater, for example. So make sure that you have a page for every single one of your core services. That's definitely going to help you rank higher. And you want to have good content on each one of those. Valuable content matters. Don't just have generic stuff on there. Make sure that is valuable. Step number 3, do you have location pages for every sub-city that you service? If you only have one page for each one of the cities that you service, you're going to be missing out on a ton of traffic. So every sub-city you have in that area, go ahead and make a page for that sub-city that you're servicing. That way you can expand that net that you're casting. A little pro tip is, if you can get a Google business profile to cover that, you're going to also increase in those regions as well. So that'll tie in right to your website and increase that net. But regardless, you want to have a page on every one of those pages that talks about a little about the city, a little bit about your service, and have unique content on each one of those. And then have those pages push into more in-depth content. For example, you talk about the water heater repairs and you link to that water heater repair page, for example. Okay, so with that, the big thing that we want on those subpages is make sure that the content is unique. One thing that we do see all the time is that it's the same content on each one of those subpages, and all that changes is the city name. Google caught on to that one years ago. Make sure that they are valuable pages and not just duplicates that are repeated hundreds of times to cover hundreds of cities. You have to have valuable content on those subpages. Otherwise, Google kicks those ones right out of the SERPs and you won't rank for them. You have to have that valuable content on it. Tip number 4, do you have brand pages for every service brand that you install or service? Customers search for specific brands. For example, brand name water heater installation, or brand name water heater repair, for example. So make sure for every single brand that you service or install, make sure that that has a custom page for it. And that way you can further expand that net of content and capture more of those really hot leads that you know they're looking for a very specific service. Now, pro tip, if you had like a UTM tag to each one of those or some other custom way to track the customer, especially like if they're coming in through a CRM or something like that, you can actually see what they're coming in from, what page they're coming in from, so you could further track them that way. A lot of our people don't really do that to that degree, but there are a few that we will actually add a UTM tag onto to capture that further data to see exactly where they're coming from, and that way we can retarget to them later. Tip number 5 is every page on your website using unique content. Now this one's important. We'll see this a lot of times. I'd mentioned it before in one of the previous tips about just using the same content and just changing the core service or just changing the city name or something like that. That is an old tactic. It doesn't work anymore. So make sure when you're creating this unique content, every page is very valuable to the user. The more valuable and the more informative and the more you can target exactly what those customers are looking for, the higher Google is going to rank that page because it says it's valuable. If it's valuable to the user, it's valuable to Google. If they see more people coming to it, more shares, more traffic, it's going to continue to increase the ranks on that one because it says, hey, this is really valuable content. Let's go ahead and keep sharing it because the people are staying here, they're consuming the content, they're scrolling, they're looking at the page content. So make sure that every page is unique and valuable to the customers. Tip number 6. Does your website rank for your most important keywords? So take a moment and sit down and say, if my website is to rank, what do I want it to rank for? And write out a list of the most important keywords that would bring you the most revenue. And then that's the keywords we want to go after. For example, plumber in city or city plumber or HVAC repair in city or city HVAC repair, something along the lines of that. Make a whole list of them and you can switch them. You can have city, plumber, plumber city. You can have those as really important keywords that you want to track, even if they just flip the position of your keyword and your city. If that's important to you, that's what you want to track. Now you can track various keywords, quite a few of them too, depending on the different softwares you use. Now there's going to be software like Ahrefs, there's going to be Bright Local, there's going to be all sorts of different platforms that you can use to track your rankings and your position on that. Now there's a lot of different software you can use, from Ahrefs to SEMrush to Bright Local and various other ones that will allow you to track your different ranks and the positions of them very specifically to that keyword. Now, if you don't want to get into the software game and learn a whole nother set of software or do anything like that, another free alternative is actually just to start tracking in Google Search Console. And that one will show you the keywords that people are searching for. It's going to show you the pages that are ranking the highest, the positions of them. It gives you a ton of data. Now, for somebody who's new to this, it's probably going to be a lot of overwhelming data. It just is what it is, but these other softwares can actually just simplify it to say tracking, and you have your keywords and you can see position 3, position 4, position 1, position 2, all that kind of stuff right there. So it is really valuable to have that software if you're willing to take some time to learn it, or if you have somebody using it for you and they can report back on where you're ranking. Tip number 7. Are you pushing out valuable content regularly? Now, with that, you want to be able to push out regular content because that can also build inbound links. It can also help you have internal links and a whole bunch of other great things that come with the constant publishing of content. The problem that we see a lot is that SEO isn't a one-time stop. It's not something that you can do one time and expect it to continue to work, especially if your competitors are doing SEO. If you push out a piece of content a month and they're pushing out 5, 6, or 7, you just won't rank. So what is content? It can be written content in the form of, say, a blog. It can be video content. It can be all sorts of other types of media Photos, for example, is another type of content. But what we like to see is, for example, blog posts, page updates, or anything like that, where you're adding more images, you're adding more valuable content. You're really kind of digging down in and really saying, what is the customer searching for? What do they want to see? And how can we give that to them that's going to help them understand exactly what they want and do business with us? So that's the kind of content I'm talking about. When you're constantly pushing out new, unique, fresh content that is valuable, that helps the customer. That's what Google wants to see, and that's what's going to help you rank. So push out fresh content onto your blog, push it out onto your Google business profile, push it out onto different platforms. One on top of my head, it could be like medium.com, for example. You could push it out onto your LinkedIn profile. Get all this new, fresh content out there, and always if you're posting it somewhere else, make sure that it points back to your website. For example, if you post something on LinkedIn, have it point back to your website. If you post on Facebook, have something that points back to your website. That way people can click on it and jump over to your website. Now, I will add the word of warning with that. If you're posting content on Facebook and you're putting a link in to go to your website, a lot of times Facebook will devalue that link a little bit because they want to keep people on their platform. So just use that with a word of caution. But for us, we post links all the time trying to actually get people off of Facebook and onto our website because that's where the money's made. So it's a hit and miss thing. Just use it wisely and you'll be completely fine on that one. So let's recap this and say, if your website is missing any of those tips, you're definitely leaving traffic on the table, and traffic is customers. So we want to make sure that we want to get all of those issues fixed up on your website so that traffic starts increasing and the customers visit. Within all of those, you have what's known as a conversion rate, and it's usually going to be low. It's going to be 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%. It's very rarely high. And that's because you have a lot of people coming to your website, but very few actually need your service right then, or very few are just willing to buy. So you want to get a lot of traffic coming to your website because your hot customers are mixed in with that traffic. From the more people you get, the more likely you're going to have a hot customer that's in there ready to buy, dealing with an emergency, dealing with just wanting a new water heater or a new HVAC system or something new, or they're just tired of and stressed out of something not working right, and they're the ones who are going to reach out and contact you. And if you're the one who responds first, you're likely going to get that business from them. Anyways, guys, I hope these tips were very helpful. Feel free to add a comment. Let me know what kind of content you want to see in these, and we'll go ahead and get you taken care of with the future videos that are coming out. So again, I'm Adam with Rebel Light Marketing. Get these applied, watch the action take place, and watch more traffic come in. And if you want to, feel free to sign up for a lead flow accelerator session. That's where me and my team will come in. We'll work with you to analyze your website. We'll analyze your marketing plan, see what's working, see the holes, see where there's room for improvement, and get you on a marketing plan that works for this coming year. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks.